Hello everyone, Rick here. From looking into the history and lore behind all these Starfleet ships, one name keeps cropping up time and time again, that of the Advanced Ship Design Bureau. I figured the name was something pretty obvious and self-explanatory, but I decided to look into it anyway because I've been surprised before with the depth that some Trek content goes into, fleshing out some seemingly basic aspects of the Star Trek mythos. For example, the red alert system is far more than just an alarm. This video is purely beta canonicity content, as the ASDB is only ever mentioned in content external to the shows, although numerous other affiliated departments and agencies are mentioned in passing. So, the ASDB is a department that formed within Starfleet as part of their ship construction efforts and was not always present. In the earliest times of Starfleet's ship development, vessels were being constructed pretty much entirely on a ship-by-ship basis, with most of Starfleet's focusing down onto a handful of projects. The organisation was simply not big enough to feature all the departments that it would later require, and it was often down to the project team to not only design the ship but usually ended up serving aboard it. See the NX Warp 5 program for an example, which saw the inclusion of multiple systems from collaborating institutions but was headed under the single NX class project, from schematic to construction. No specific bureau was responsible for pioneering ship designs, but by 2155 you had institutions like the Cochrane Institute on Alpha Centauri looking into building a Warp 7 engine, something that was still years away. As the organisation grew and was recreated within the Federation, Starfleet became more bureaucratic, as suddenly Earth found its handful of shipyards now supplemented by the Andorian Imperial Fleet Yards, Vulcan's 40 Eridani A Yard, and the Tellarites' network of yards from Garvor to Tela Prime. With the expertise of 4 member worlds, and more in the following decades, Starfleet found itself in need of a department to be solely responsible for the oversight of Starship design, let alone the development. So, from this need, the Advanced Ship Design Bureau created. It was a collection of scientists, engineers, naval architects, and specialists from within Starfleet, all with the objective of creating vessels. It had multiple goals, and itself was not responsible for the construction of Starfleet space frames, but would take part in the project oversight at times. The first goal was the most demanding and to this day still one of the most taxing but rewarding processes. The ASDB culminated the collective developments from numerous sources drawn from its member worlds and their own research partners. Unlike an institute like, say, Memory Alpha, however, the role of the Bureau was not to hoard the information as a library and reference, but to utilise anything pertinent to Starship development. Its exact date of origin is murky, however, so I cannot say for certainty that it was the ASDB that was responsible for getting the member world's technologies to originally communicate. However, that role is something that the ASDB certainly embraces from the 23rd century onwards, and they liaise with multiple institutions within the Federation, even those outside of Starfleet, to stay informed of the latest breakthroughs. From sensor platforms to phaser banks and warp evolutions, if it goes into a starship, they want to read up on it and understand it. How does it work, and how can we make it work with what else we have? Their second role was to, design. As the name implies, the Bureau was to constantly churn out ship schematics and possibilities based on the technologies available to them. The ASDB creates far more concepts for vessels than Starfleet needs, and ultimately only a handful of these ever reached a prototype stage, even fewer making it into official commissions as a ship class. But almost all Starfleet ships began life on an ASDB work table. The criteria for creating a ship design is fueled by necessity, the mother of invention, as they say. The ASDB will often conduct evaluations of Starfleet's capabilities and look for openings in the roles that their current vessels do not fill. Need a longer range explorer to replace the aging Oberth? Nova class. Need a test bed for a new generation of innovations based on a reliable design that can act as a control sample? The Reliant class, basically a 25th century Miranda. Alongside combing the fleet for points of improvement, the ASDB would also create designs based around a singular technology to test it out. The Prometheus pushed ship separation to its extremes in 2374, and the Protostar was built around a new drive design, for example. As mentioned, the ASDB seldom got hands-on with a vessel construction itself. Its process ended at the design phase, but they were often called on to redesign, improve, or otherwise iron out work on projects that had been greenlit, with various departments taking on the actual construction from the space frames to specific parts. The ASDB offices were located across numerous shipyards from Utopia Planitia, Antares, McKinley Station, and numerous starbases, anywhere that they could get their hands on with a vessel to continue their research and observe the practical results of their designs. Feedback is key for continual development, after all. By the late 24th century, they did operate integration facilities that were responsible for the assembly of constituent components into a full space frame, but they did not construct those parts on site. So, the ASDB is basically a result of Starfleet's growth. A team of naval engineers is capable of drawing up, designing and surveying a vessel with input from specialists, but until the ASDB, this was usually helmed by a temporary design team that was disbanded when the project was concluded. With the continual development from over 150 member planets, and all of their multitude of institutions, however, this pretty much becomes a full-time process, so it made sense to culminate it all into one organisation within Starfleet. You do still get individual projects, creating a single ship design, but these are rare in the later Trek timelines or under the umbrella of the ASDB. Thanks for watching this breakdown of the Advanced Ship Design Bureau. It pretty much does what it says on the tin, but I still found this to be an interesting topic to look into. The ship creation process before it was actually built. And I wonder how many designs are out there that never make it to the prototype stage and what the rejection pile looks like. Thanks again for watching. I've been Rick, and goodbye.